Brian, if I asked you, how well does Ape Escape play?
Like Ape Escape 1?
Ape Escape 1.
Yeah.
On a scale of like
1 to 10.
1 to 10, with 1 being bad and 10 being great. Fantastic.
Yes. Yeah.
6? 7? Maybe 6?
Ape Escape is at least an 8.
Sounds fair. It sounds fair.
Rayman 2.
Rayman 2 is 8.
You would take Rayman 2 over Ape Escape.
Absolutely.
It's not even close.
It's not even close.
Ben can't talk. He's never played the game.
3, 2, 1. Wow.
And hello, welcome to episode 74 of the Endless Backlog podcast. Hope all is well where you are. This is your host, Gagan of the #1 amateur hour podcast, a award that I specifically put on our own podcast. Joining me today is Christopher Compton.
Just giving you a minute to let the class wash over me.
Just the class, just all
Yeah,
of it.
there's just so much classiness.
This
Jesus.
is too classy. And Benjamin Minkoff.
Yeah, good to be here.
Wow. I'm glad we're all phoning it in.
The energy is so high.
So, let me explain to our listeners. In case you haven't been paying attention, we
Gagan.
always end podcasts with things that we're allegedly going to do. Or I end the podcast with things we're allegedly going to do. And
I believe you said we'd be doing the Game of the Year podcast with this
so we
podcast.
didn't do one this Sunday because reasons.
That should just be known as the lie segment of the podcast.
That is the lie segment. Listen, if you thought we were going to honor anything we said we were going to do, you haven't been paying attention.
You've missed the past 74 episodes.
Yes.
Emergencies came up.
Yeah, it's the unfortunate part of doing this podcast with everyone on different times, different areas. Doing it on a fucking Sunday. So, in the case of Phil, who I felt... Usually my criteria with the Game of the Year podcast has been this. There are certain people I'm more than willing to do this podcast without. Just because... I mean, listen, I don't care about I don't think any of your games necessarily warrant that conversation this year. Like last year, did it bother me that, for instance, Chris, you didn't get to be on the podcast? A little, because I think you're energetic, you show passion for a lot of the games you like, and, I think you're good radio. But at the same time...
My games all got cut.
Dragon Age Inquisition, there wasn't a lot of love for it between the group. Shadow of Mordor, I was on. Phil was like, yeah, it's good. And then Dark Souls 2 was just... It had franchise fatigue, in my opinion, that year.
Yeah, all my favorite games were annihilated. Which I played a lot of those games in retrospect, and like Alien Isolation would have been high on my list.
Whereas when I was taking a podcast, I was like, listen, if we're going to do Game of the Year, I sincerely think the conversation is Bayonetta 2 versus Alien. It ended up being Bayonetta 2 versus nothing because it was Bayonetta 2. But... Like, I needed Will and Phil there, because especially Phil and Will, because they were really high on Alien Isolation, in a way that I wasn't, and then me and Ben needed to be there naturally, because we were really high on Bayonetta 2. This year, I refuse to have the podcast without Chris, for instance. It's like, no, he's basically been saying, we are insane if we don't pick The Witcher 3. There's a good enough argument to be made for The Witcher 3. I'm not having the podcast without Chris at any point. So Chris had a date on Sunday, so we had to adjust the time for him. Unfortunately, Phil also needs to be on the podcast because Metal Gear happened. And ironically, Phil's Game of the Year is The Witcher. So he put, the...
Yeah, I saw. When I saw that, I was like...
We could have just done the podcast!
As soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, my chances just got so much better.
Yeah, it's like, things are lining up for you, buddy.
It's looking good.
Yeah, I was like, you're basically going up against, like... Ben, I, and Wazdi in terms of our passion for Rocket League and my passion for I think the Game of the Year should be the best playing game and I don't think it's The Witcher 3. But, it's going to be an uphill battle.
We'll have this argument hopefully
on Sunday.
On the next
Hopefully
podcast.
on the next podcast we actually do go through the trouble of doing it. For the most part, everyone is aware it's on Sunday.
Yeah, I'm good this time.
aiming for 3 p.m. just to be like, all right, Phil, we did 3 p.m. this time. In the case of Phil, an emergency came up, so he had to go. Like, William's like, whoa, so you would have the podcast without me? I was like, yes, William, because we don't care about any of your games this year.
Yeah, this time is different.
It's like, none of us played Rise of the Tomb Raider, and that's unfair to Rise of the Tomb Raider, because apparently it's a really good game. But it is what it is.
2016 game, yo.
Yeah, it's a 2015 game. We're not doing it. We've gone too far with the rules at this point. And in the case of StarCraft 2 Legacy of the Void, me and you played it. Both of us agree the story isn't good. We've already given StarCraft 2 its fucking due diligence. At this point, it's an expansion. It's like next year when Blood and
Wine
comes out. We're like, well, gotta put Blood and Wine unless I'm gonna be like, all right, come on, we gave The Witcher 3 its fucking credit. Like, let's.
Yeah.
Because I'm of the opinion that you don't put Super Street Fighter 4 Arcade Edition on a top 10 list. I don't think you put Super Street Fighter 4 on a top 10 best games of the year list. Just because it's like, no, you gave your due diligence during Street Fighter 4. Now
you say that as taking.
You could argue those games are like sequels.
Isn't
Super Street Fighter 4? Yes. Arcade Edition? No.
Well,
isn't
I mean, like for StarCraft, the campaigns are all like equally long and equally different from each other.
I mean,
they have unique units and stuff.
Say that, but it's also because it had to be done that way, because in this era you can't make an RTS with 3 campaigns in it the way original StarCraft was.
And StarCraft, I mean, that expansion also had an equally long campaign. Brood War.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was as long a campaign as...
Yeah, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's an expansion. What were you going to say, Chris?
Isn't Taken King going to be in our conversation? Isn't that just an expansion?
That's probably... Well, Legacy of the Void isn't cut. Like, it could be there. I'm just saying, like, I'm not particularly, like, enamored with having that conversation. You know? Personally. And, you know, people are going to say, wow, it's a little biased, Gagan. I was like, yeah, when you edit the podcast and you tell everybody when they have to show up, you get a little bit of extra power to mess around with. Do I go over the line? Not really. I think I'm usually fair about this shit. But, you know, in certain cases, I'm going to be like, yeah, fuck that. I don't care. You know what I mean?
So much impartiality.
Yeah, but for the most part,
there you go.
Let's give me my credit. I haven't been terrible about this shit. You know? When it came to Bayonetta Demon Souls, we all agreed best argument wins, and me and Ben took our L. Did we not, Ben? We accepted their argument was good. Ben took his L when he realized that the Journey argument and the argument against Revengeance wasn't good.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And I still say, go back to that podcast, whether you like the fact that Revengeance is in a top 10, it's not a top 10 game of the gen. That I agree with. It's kind of an absurd pick for us. But the argument for it was good, and the argument against it were kind of shit, other than the ones Ben presented.
I mean, that's what happens when you decide Game of the Year this way. So
yeah, that's
what makes it exciting.
Yeah, I feel like it's made me respect bad lists a little bit more. Because, now I get it. Now I get why this is difficult. Now I get why a list ends up quote-unquote shitty. It's like, no, you have different personalities arguing for the thing that really worked for them. And you make some weird cuts.
You have to make, weird compromises.
Yeah.
I think the problem with lists is we don't see the context surrounding them when they're just because when you see our list, you can listen to that podcast and see how people fought for Revengeance being number 10. So you don't just see the list and it's just now removed all context leading up to that decision.
And it's like, how did that game get there?
I mean, at the same
Why
time,
isn't this game higher up?
At the same time, I would argue it's the same thing with Giant Bomb. Like, it's why their Game of the Year list works. It's like you have context for what the argument was. But I guess in my ideal state, I want to avoid some of the shitty arguments they've had. And we've had our shitty argument. Like, the Valkyria Chronicles cut looking back, really shit on how it happened.
That didn't even make sense. And if it wasn't for my mic fucking out that whole time.
Yeah. Twilight Princess, I think looking back, when you listen to that podcast, you go, that game got a weird raw deal. Not that it's, like, I'm going to argue for it. But when we look back and listen to that podcast, you go, that may have been the weakest argument for a cut during that entire podcast. Just because, no one really defended it. That hurt its cause, too. But, you know. And then certain people got overly emotional.
I hope that happens Sunday. I hope someone cries.
We'll see what happens.
I will do the same thing I did during the Game of the Gen podcast, because I know there's certain games that, like, you guys are, like, I want you to fucking defend your game. Like, no, don't let your game just get cut. Defend it. Like, go the extra mile. Like, I want you, if you are the only person in the room that likes Antichamber, fight for that son of a bitch. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I do for my games. I'll take my L's on some of them when I feel like, all right, whatever. I'm not going to hold up this podcast forever, because even I want to end it. But at the same time, I'm going to go, listen, Matthew, you're the only one here that played Sunless Sea until Ben. It's apparently really cool. Why don't you fight for it? You know what I mean?
It's a pretty cool game.
Yeah. You know, Brian Markheim wasn't going to be on the podcast until I told him I was going to cut Super Mario Maker, because I don't think that's one of the 10 best games this year. Sorry, last year. Whatever. So, it is. We do promise an entertaining listen, at the least. I do think they're very entertaining to listen to. Just because you get so many games talked about in a way that's a little bit more detailed. There's this weird game of teammates happening along the way. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, people get betrayed.
It gets vindictive. It's like, oh, okay, yo, Chris, they don't like Halo 5, right? Yeah, it's a fuck Life is Strange. Yeah. That's not gonna happen. I don't know. I was playing more Halo 5.
So what have we been doing while we've been waiting
well,
to
I mean,
do this
if anything,
podcast?
the extra week gives us an excuse to continue playing more games we could have caught up on.
Yeah, that's true.
And in my case, and I do feel this speaks high volumes of how lazy I got throughout most of 2015. I am a huge fan of horror games. I am also a big fan of Amnesia: The Dark Descent by Frictional Games. I bought that game. That game I bought day one. Because I like the Penumbra games, and just in general, there was a lot of great buzz around that game. This was like a really scary game. And I would stand by it. Amnesia is a scary motherfucker. But I didn't play Soma until just a week ago. Or just this week. I haven't even finished it yet, actually.
Oh.
And,
okay.
So that's pretty bad considering, you know, they were in my wheelhouse and I should be willing to
Your
play them.
alleged love of horror games?
Yeah, yeah.
And frictional?
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it was just the part where it was on a PS4, so I was thinking, I was like, alright, whatever. They're going to make adjustments because they're going to need this all the more mainstream console audience, you know, which bothered me, I guess, on the inside, because like, oh my god, I just did that line of thinking. It's pretty bad.
I can't believe you did that, yeah.
Yeah, but at the same time, there was this also weird buzz going around. The story seemed to be getting all the headlines, right? Mm-hmm. I'm just thinking to myself, I'm like, Amnesia's story isn't good. It works in the context of that game. Like, it services that game. Like, it's not bad in the strictest sense because, like, it doesn't undermine the experience. It's just, it's not much of a story. It's just a framework that the gameplay can carry, right?
Right.
But Soma's been actually pretty freaking interesting. I would argue that the watered-down nature of Amnesia, because that's what Soma is, a watered-down Amnesia, has been...
because it's underwater, I see. That's clever.
Oh my god.
Thank you. And, like, it became a bit easier to swallow because I'm legitimately invested in the story right now, and I don't want to get too carried away with my reaction to it because it's science fiction, because it's a video game, and because it's a horror game on top of that, there is a very good chance this ending will be stupid.
Yep.
Right? Because there's just the nature of certain things. Horror, the thing with horror is, for whatever reason, we all love the Stephen King quote of don't explain things, it stops being scary, yet everything horror-related, including Stephen King shit, explains shit, and then ceases to be scary. Right? And then science fiction in general, there's, like, once you go too hard science with it, there's usually this weird twist at the end that doesn't make any sense, I feel like. Am I incorrect in that reaction?
It can be a tough line to draw in terms of where, like, what do you want to do with your science?
Yeah, yeah.
Things can get pushed too far into, like, kind of fantastical stuff, or...
Yeah. Yeah, agreed. And in
It depends.
In the case of Soma, so I guess we ran into this argument with The Last of Us, is that a lot of these story beats I've seen before, and hilariously enough, I've been seeing in games lately. like the Swapper and the Fall and stuff like that. It's been a lot of, the Swapper was, do clones have souls? Soma is very much, do machines, even if you put someone's consciousness in a machine, are they still a person? Do they have a soul? Do they, where do you go from there? And it's very, taken at its face value, right? It's, whatever, it's standard fare for this type of science fiction. But it's getting scarier because it seems like we keep getting closer and closer in the real fucking world to this shit, right? It's almost like it's right around the corner. It's almost like, maybe we should stop making Terminator movies because we might be making robots soon. You know what I mean?
It's like in 40 years, you might actually have to answer these questions.
Yeah. Whatever. I mean, 40 years.
That'd be so fun. We have all these video games, all these movies, all these books saying, don't do this shit. And then we do it, and it's like, who could have known?
Who could have known, man?
If only we had been warned.
If only we had warned ourselves with the Terminator.
Yeah.
But it's really compelling.
But they made it look so fun.
So the unfortunate part is, because I do want to see, because I know, Ben, you are thinking about buying it and
I
using
kind of
a
ask you about
disgusting mod that, and we're going to get into that
All
conversation too. We're getting into that conversation too.
Okay.
And I know you want to play it because the story does sound interesting. Giant Bomb Maze, if you need to go listen to another good reason, Giant Bomb, I want to say day 3, they do the best story discussion. I would argue that conversation really sells Soma to a lot of people.
Even if it reveals a lot of the beats, it still sounds
there's
like
a twist they did not reveal that I think is what really makes that story go.
That's encouraging.
And it's impossible to really talk about it without spoiling it.
So we won't.
Right? You don't have to.
So we're not going to spoil it. Although, if that conversation does come up during Sunday, and I feel it might swing the argument in the game's favor, because I am liking it, I might go that mile. I might go, like, all right, I'm going to have to spoil something, because I really do think it adds to why this game is special.
As long as you give a little warning.
Yeah, I mean, we might have to. But that's the nature of those type of podcasts. Now, the other thing is, the internet actually created a mod for Soma because some people don't like horror games, and I get it. I get the psychological idea. I think Cook on our forum at one point wrote, I don't want to play something that gives me a feeling I don't want to have, which is being scared, right? It's not a feeling you really want. People who like horror automatically compare it to amusement park roller coasters. And it's like, the thrill factor is similar. There's a thrill to it. But it's roller coasters are inherently fun. You're not trying to have fun when you're playing a horror game. You want it to make you uncomfortable, unsettled, have you on nerves, on edge. You know what I mean?
There are also people who don't like roller coasters.
Yeah, but
and
those
that's
people,
valid.
Yeah. But that I usually feel like is more like a motion sickness thing, with like a fear of heights and stuff like that.
I'm not thrilled, I'm just sick.
Yeah, that. Whereas I don't think Soma is a matter of being sick. You just don't like that uneasy feel. It's like, no, I like being relaxed, calm, and, whatever, which I get. However, it would bother me in a Game of the Year discussion, or any discussion arguing the merits of a video game, quality of a video game, whatever. You're not going to review the game, so it's fine.
Yeah.
But that we're talking about the quality of said game, and it came down to you didn't even want to fucking play it.
Well, alright. So, tell me more about your experience with the enemy encounters in Soma.
It's a watered-down version of Amnesia. It's the same brand of hide and seek. They've given you a bit more of a buffer zone in the sense that the first time they find you, they only knock you out. The second time they kill you, right? Meant to keep you immersed. It's a lot of back and forth. It's basic cat and mouse stuff. The only thing is, I would argue the level design itself hasn't been as good as it was in Amnesia or more recently Alien Isolation. Because in Alien Isolation, they do a fantastic job giving you a lot of hiding spaces. There's a lot of like benches, chairs, things she can crawl under real quick. A lot of desks she can hide under, blockers, stuff like that. In Soma, it seems like those hiding spaces are very limited. And given that we're coming off a year after Alien Isolation, the alien was at least dynamic, and that made it more compelling. Because because the game does such a great job selling the idea that this thing is its own, like it's not scripting a lot of this. Like, it had its patterns, but sometimes it would just do things and you couldn't expect it, right? You know, like, sometimes it's just rumbling shit while it's up in the vents, and you're going, okay, I'm safe for now, but it could drop from those vents at any fucking second. There was no, like, set time it would drop. Right? Other than like the initial reveal of the thing. Right? And that adds to the gameplay. Amnesia, there were a lot more spaces. You used a lot more of the environment to say, like, you would run through a door and now you're gonna like barricade the door real quick. Like, you're gonna put a chair right in front of the door just so the thing can't open it to buy yourself some extra time. Little things like that. Right. You don't really do that in Soma. So that takes away from a lot of the like just excitement of it. It's law of diminishing returns. It's a reduced version of what I used to get. And
but is it annoying? Because that's like a word I heard come up in discussions about the monster counters. It's like, it's not scary anymore. I'm just annoyed.
I think that's sort of the issue with the style of gameplay. Because I would argue Alien Isolation, there's stretches where when you're dying a bunch in a row, it stopped being scary or tense and just became a matter of irritation. Chris, like, would you agree with that? Like, it became a little bit more irritating than anything.
And that also came down to the fact that game was twice as long as it should have been.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But at the same time, like, the thing, we went back to it, like, it was the catch-22 of if you're going to do an AI like the Alien, was that sometimes you're just going to be in bullshit spots and you're going to have to hold that L for the game.
Yeah, you're just going to have to come out of that locker because it's not moving.
Yeah, so you're just going to have to take that L. And you would do certain things that just became tedious because you're like, fuck, man, I got to make this run all over again. And it would be a trek, even though the first time you did it, you were like, wow, this is really tense because it's like, it's just like a horror movie when this is happening and whatever, right? So I don't... You need to, like, explain to me what part of it is annoying. Like, unfair? No, I don't think it's completely unfair. There are times, but, like, does it make the gameplay inherently tedious at times? Sure. But I don't think it's, like, this, like, death sentence at the same time. Plus, every other game, we take the bad with the good. Whether I like The Witcher 3 or not, I didn't get lazy and just put the Gwent mod. Trust me, I want to. But, like, I'm going to play The Witcher 3 properly, because that game deserves to be judged all the way through. We don't... I want to deal with Metal Gear Solid 5 shitty story, but when it came down to do the podcast, I went through the trouble and went through every cassette tape and watched the cutscenes that I wasn't paying attention to, and was like, wow, that's a really stupid story.
Oh, yeah, it is.
I mean, I wouldn't... As I said, I wouldn't write a review based on that, based on a mod where I skipped... where I disabled all the enemy encounters.
I mean, it's a video game, though. I think part of Soma storytelling requires the playing it part. Maybe, whatever. Avoiding the monsters...
I mean, it's obviously... It's not a game you could really watch all the cutscenes with either. It's part of playing the game is exploring the environment and uncovering things and making connections and making decisions.
Yeah, and part of what exploring that environment is dealing with monsters that might make you go, I'm not going to explore that because this is annoying. I don't want to deal with it. You know what I mean?
So I guess the other question I have about that, which I guess might play into whether or not this is annoying, is, I mean, my understanding about the enemies is that they all have, like, there are kind of like rules governing their behaviors. Like, they can notice you if you do X.
Correct.
And that's not even necessarily, like, maybe, like, there's an enemy that can't see but can hear you or something.
Correct.
Or...
There's usually
stuff
a
like
lot
that.
of variety to the enemies in the sense that...
So, like, how easy is it to infer those rules? Do you have to learn by getting killed?
So that might be a little difficult because I understood the rules coming off of Penumbra. There was a learning period. I remember a learning period in Penumbra of exactly when I was safe. Because there's no sight cones or anything.
Right.
Sometimes you don't really... Like, the problem with first-person games is they don't ever show you enough... Oh, by the way, we're going to get into that as well. But, like, sometimes you don't know how much of a character you are or how hidden you are. It's that Dishonored thing. You ever see that picture of Corvo hanging out the sides? Like, I'm behind this thing. Stealth. Sneaky. Or whatever the fuck it says.
If you use the lean command, then you can, like, lean out from behind a corner and you're still invisible.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, you know, it's like, what's covered? And sometimes you're not leaning, but they know you're behind that desk. And it's like, okay, what fucking part of my body did you see? My shoe that I can't see? You know what I'm saying? So, like, that can be a little frustrating at times. I think larger problems with that game is just straight up level design. Like, the environments they make are sometimes too confined because it's a horror game. It's got to make you claustrophobic. Or it's just, there's just not enough space to hide. So there's nothing open about it. Like, again, the best parts of Alien Isolation, again, were... Like, the medical area is really fantastic because there's a few different paths you can take during that area. You know what I'm saying? The the place you need to go is the same. How you can get there is a little bit different. And that adds to the gameplay. It takes away some of the tedium because it's like, okay, this path didn't work. Let me see what the other way goes. Oh, fuck, there's people there. I'm going to have to make noise. Let me go a different...
You've got options.
Yes,
you're making decisions.
Those options aren't there in Soma. It's actually really frustrating coming off of Alien Isolation in that regard, just to be like, okay, Creative Assembly took part of their formula and added things to it that frictional games didn't. But I think this game is better paced overall because it's not as fucking long so far. I mean, I say that, but I'm only halfway through Soma. Who knows? The second half could be horrible. But yeah,
I mean, because like, here's my feeling. With horror, my horror game experience, like, I'm not great with horror in general.
Right.
Like, even getting to the point I am now, growing up, it took me a while. Like, I mean, I used to be scared of Half-Life 2. And, like, it took me a lot of effort to get through Ravenholm. And to get through any encounter with the fast head crab zombies.
But you love Resident Evil 4?
And that took effort, too. When I first got that game, I couldn't really get through the village.
Resident Evil 4 and Ravenholm are not.
And then I got through Half-Life 2, and then I was like, okay, now I'm set. I can kind of I understand how to do this.
Did the library scare you?
I haven't played through the campaign of Halo 1. And so the only real horror game I've completed is Silent Hill 2.
Let me get this straight. Time out. You played 2, 3, ODST, and Reach. Start to finish. The one good Halo campaign you have not played.
That is correct.
The Revelations right now.
The only Halo campaign actually worth playing because they actually nail some of the story beats. Whatever, the level design still has its issues, but like, the introduction to the Flood is one of Bungie's best moments.
I got an original Xbox with
Ben,
Halo 2.
Put this into perspective. I think the Flood are one of the at least 5 shittiest enemies in a video game. They are in the top 5 all time. The introduction to those motherfuckers is so well done.
What basically happened was I got an Xbox with Halo 2, and I didn't feel like going backwards.
See, what happened was...
You went backwards by playing the Halo 2 campaign!
I wanted to play it online.
Good lord, Ben.
I mean, yeah, whatever. You picked the better Halo game. I'm not disagreeing with that. It's just...
What's wrong with you?
But that's like the one, like... I don't like the Halo game. Halo 1's good, man. You should play it.
I believe you. I'm sure it's great.
You should play it.
I played a bunch of multiplayer Halo at friends' houses, and it was fun.
You should play Halo 1. The actual campaign. You have the benefit of hindsight. You can finally...
Sit on Steam.
No. Oh, yeah. Yo, you have an Xbox One access. He probably has Master Chief Collection.
No, he actually, I think he does.
Yeah. So
he does.
Yeah. Of the things that work in that game, Halo 1's campaign seems to work.
I might be able to sell that.
The campaigns work, it's just the multiplayer.
I think you could even do online co-op. Ben, I could co-op that game with you.
Yeah, you can.
We'll see. But anyway, horror games.
Right.
The only horror game I completed was Silent Hill 2. And the only reason I completed Silent Hill 2... It's a fantastic game. I love my experience playing through the game. But the only way I got through that was because I pretty much always had someone else watching me play it.
You're such a scaredy
I wouldn't have gotten through the apartments, probably, if I didn't have a friend there.
In awe that you're this...
It was just like... It's really oppressive. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I don't want to feel this way. So I'm not going to play it unless I can have something to relieve that tension. And it was still plenty oppressive, and I still really liked the experience of going through it, Silent Hill 2. And I've actually proposed playing through it with my roommate if he wants to do it, like we both go through it together, and that might be easier.
Does Demon Souls scare you?
Demon Souls is tough sometimes.
Yeah, I was about to say, Tower of Latria.
Oh, Tower of Latria is creepy.
I mean, I got through it because it was good, and I had time for it. But, I mean, since I started working, I really haven't been able to get through a Souls game. Because it's like, it's harder for me to set aside time to push through it.
Souls games haven't been that good since Demon Souls. And really since Dark Souls 1.
What the fuck's wrong with you?
It's an argument.
It's a wrong
Hey, it's not that crazy for a lot of people to think Dark Souls 2 is not as good as the other two. Bloodborne was really good.
Yeah, Bloodborne counts, man.
So it's like, if there's a way for me to experience the exploration parts of that game and the story parts of the game that are exciting to me, in a way that I will be able to complete it as opposed to just not bothering at all, I feel like that's worthwhile.
Fine.
I mean, and I wouldn't like write an authoritative review of that game based on my mod experience, but it would just be my personal experience.
I mean, I don't know. That's very my philosophy. Like, I have no problem with mods because there's a great argument to be made that certain games with the right mods, whether you like it or not, it would be a fantastic experience. How you judge it is whatever. But if that happens to be one of the great games of an era, why not count something like that? You know, why not count the fact that this mod enhances Knights of the Old Republic 2 to a different tier of RPG for people, which I think is absurd because it's still a bad Star Wars story. But that's not the point.
Some people, yeah.
And I'm one of those people that tells people that Vanilla Stalker is absolutely a fantastic game. You know, it's just got mods that take out some of its like performance rough edges, right? It takes away the polish issues, if anything. Whereas other people like modding the gameplay systems, giving themselves stronger guns from the get-go to alleviate some of the difficulty curve, which I think is pussy, but that's besides the point. You know.
I mean, I wouldn't want to think of this being like somehow modding dual stick controls in the Resident Evil 4 or something like that.
Mouse and keyboard controls into Resident Evil 4?
I mean, you could do that already on the new PC version.
The new PC version's mouse controls weren't that good.
Well, I mean, like move and shoot.
Yeah. Oh. That ruins the game, though.
I mean, I think that would probably ruin the game.
Probably, it absolutely ruins the game.
It would break the balance of it completely.
I mean, whatever. Resident Evil 4 is not even that hard of a game as it is, but like, it would completely make it a cakewalk.
Yeah.
You would move too quickly compared to everything you're fighting.
You would just back away from every enemy when they attack.
It'd be like if they suddenly turned Metroid Prime's movement into fucking Mirror's Edge. You know, Metroid Prime works because of the way you move in that game. Yes, it's deliberate and it doesn't always feel fast and smooth all the time. But the one blemish on Metroid Prime, I would argue.
It's a little floaty?
Floaty isn't the word. I just think it's never felt... The FPS controls of Metroid Prime, even on a game control, are odd, at the least, right?
It's unusual.
Yeah. And it's not always the smoothest thing, considering they had two sticks right there. But then, you know, how do you do the visor stuff and the plasma and all that stuff?
Beams.
A fucking power wheel? Fuck that shit. You know?
It looks nice and it kind of makes sense in context, but it does. Yeah. It creates some trade-offs.
Yeah, it's funny now.
I don't know. I'm glad you're enjoying Soma.
Towers is probably listening to this going, "It's like Metro Prime's perfect. How dare you?"
Whatever.
So Metro Prime is perfect. So fuck you. Anyway,
I'm glad. Soma sounds really good.
Soma is really good if you like horror games. If you like good science, if you like stories that challenge the player a bit, and it's been a good couple years of that. Talos Principle was a good one last year for this. Let me put it this way. One of my beefs with BioShock Infinite was like it presented these ideas, racism, religion, and it just drops them entirely. Right. And I feel like it never challenges the player on anything. Right? Mm-hmm. The one thing people love about Metal Gear Solid 2, which... but the thing is, that story, whether you like it or not, at least attempts to challenge the player on things they believed in at the time going in. Right?
Yeah.
So that's supposed to be like the brilliance of Metal Gear Solid 2, is that it's not you just play it and whatever the story is there. It's like, no, it's asking you questions directly now. Like, you now need to... Spec Ops in a lot of ways is that to a lot of people. Mm-hmm. And that does add to the experience for a lot of games, right?
Right.
Adds a lot of stories.
And Soma does that too.
Yeah. Soma does that, in my opinion. At least in the
I think... Going back to what you said earlier, I guess, about your concern going to the end. I mean, I just haven't played the game, so maybe I'm wrong. Mm-hmm. But, like, the questions the game kind of is raising about the nature of consciousness and reality, like, there's no way to really explain those away in a way that makes them answered, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, it's always going to be a bit of an unknown.
Yeah. That's the thing that scares me about VR sometimes. You know what I mean?
About VR?
Sometimes I'm worried. I'm like, so what happens the day... Like, what happens if it's really good? What happens if VR is really good at making you think you're there? Because I've seen this concept in, like, you die in a dream, you die because you believe it too much, right? Matrix is that.
Yeah.
Right? My question is, what happens if one of these VR sets actually does do that? Like, you actually get shot in a game and you buy it. Like, your body buys it on some level. You know what I'm saying? Like, that scares the ever-loving shit out of me. And I get whatever, maybe that's like an overreaction, you watch too much Matrix, but at the same time, there are some things about VR that I always go, it's like, yeah, it's cool if VR, like, was so good it made me puke because I saw something really scary, or, like, something that got me dizzy, right?
VR can already make you puke pretty easily, is my understanding.
Motion sickness.
Yeah, but like that's what I mean. Like,
just like make the player perspective move the wrong way, and it's motion sickness.
Well, I mean, like if it like legitimately made you buy that situation, like if it went the extra mile, that's a little scary, isn't it? I think it's scary as hell. Like I've already like other things I will not early adopt, even though I want VR to succeed. Not being an early, like they could have made it $300, I would not have bought the Oculus Rift.
I mean, if it was like a straight like pipeline to my senses, then I'd be worried. But if it's just
that's the only thing. I think it could definitely
visor on my head. I think I'm gonna have enough distance.
Yeah, it can get your heart pumping, but I don't think it would hurt you.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
What if it did?
But look at that, another game where Gagan is talking about the story.
It's almost like video game stories do matter.
They're getting there.
Yeah,
it's almost like
maybe they've always been good.
No, let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Let's not get carried away. Okay, wait. What did you say? You said they were always good or mattered?
Maybe they've always. I've always mattered. I think
a framework has mattered. Sure, like go back to it. If they didn't matter, we'd be playing as squares.
I think there've been a lot of good examples in various ways.
I mean,
there have. It's just that they were really
game plots and endings are really bad, though.
Yeah,
I'll say that at least.
They can have great characters. They can have great moments of gameplay matching with story.
But then the story they tell,
but the overarching narrative and the way they conclude things are usually pretty terrible.
So funny thing, we were talking. So I was on the forum and I said, "Yeah, I'm not too hyped about Mass Effect 4 because Mass Effect's never played well." And blah blah. I was like, "Oh, you're hating on Mass Effect." I was like, "I played through all 3 games religiously at one point. It was like it just didn't like the way they played, but I loved the characters." I'll be one of the first people to tell you that Garrus is an awesome character.
Garrus fucking McCarrion.
Fuck me, Chris and Justin had like a 3-hour podcast on Mass Effect.
That was forever lost.
Twice. No, there was one that was lost, and then there was one we had.
It was nice. It was the worst video game ending, and I just derailed it.
I do own those games on Origin. I do want to actually replay them just to be like, all right, now that I know what's gonna happen, let me see what it's like to go through this. You know what I mean? Because I feel like that would be a different. Plus, for Chris. He'll take any excuse to re-talk about Mass Effect, you know?
Yeah, and I'll replay it right before Mass Effect 4 comes
Because there's like a nastiness to whatever. I think Mass Effect fans aren't happy about the fact that there's like this weird revisionist history of Mass Effect now where because the ending sucked. It's an awful series. Nothing about it entertained anybody. It's like, no, it's a lot more complicated than that.
It was good.
Yeah, there are people that totally write the whole series off now.
Whatever. Like, Will started getting into, Mass Effect 3 is better written than the others. I'm like, no, the fuck it isn't. It's like, it has good moments, but it's actually pretty lousy in spots, too. The Space Kid is really bad.
Yeah, I don't like the Space Kid.
It just makes no sense to buy that as a sequence. Because if you kill Keith David, for instance, in that moment, it works because you had 2 games that you understood what Keith David meant to the player and Shepard. They obviously didn't do it because I'm pretty sure at one point Keith David can become irrelevant depending on your choices.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if he's not like the dude on the Citadel.
Yeah.
This, whatever. Captain.
Well, no, my Citadel guy was definitely douchebag McDoucheface.
Oh.
I think.
The reason it just doesn't work is because Shepard has, even if the Keith David's character didn't die at the beginning, he's seen important people die in his life before that. Why did he suddenly give a shit about a kid?
Like in theory, Kaiden and who was the guy who dies in the beginning of the first game?
It's Caden or Ashley.
No. There's
or at the beginning?
Very beginning of the game.
There's a Spectre.
Nihilus.
No, not the Spectre. You and Dr. Chakwas talk about him.
Oh.
She talks about him all the time.
Jenkins?
Jenkins. Like, Jenkins should be...
his name.
That's what always bothered me about the things. Like, okay, fine. You're going to go down the Space Kid pass. I should be seeing ghosts of Caden. I should be seeing ghosts of Jenkins. I should be seeing ghosts of so many other people other than this kid.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, my backstory in Mass
Effect, some of us have horrifying
had my parents killed by slavers or something.
Yeah.
And then my entire squad was wiped out by Thresher Maws.
Yeah, it's almost like it's a really...
And I was the only one who survived.
Oh, the reason for why the Crucible is a thing is actually pretty bad, and it's hilarious because I was watching a VTung video on it, and at one point in the extended cut, they added a line for the kid that goes like, when he asks him who made the Crucible and what is it or whatever, he's like, you wouldn't know who they are, and we don't have enough time to explain.
Yeah,
I'm like, this is a Destiny moment! You're joking!
Yeah,
You're joking!
Like, you and I remember before the game came out, we said, there's going to be a Reaper death weapon. It's going to happen. So as long as they don't build up to it and they just get it out of the way early on.
Yeah.
And they did.
To me, I was going to say, like, we all know the Deus Ex Machina is coming. There's no way this ending is satisfying. When they got it out of the way early, I was like, Chris, they sort of just got it over.
At least they know what they're doing.
Like, neither of us were thinking they were going to do it in the early going, because, like, we would. But they just got it out of the way. We were thinking, wait, with it out of the way, this ending could work.
Yeah.
BioWare might actually nail this.
Fucked it up in a different way.
and then they really fucked up.
They found to do creative ways.
I mean, whatever. You know, either way, so, like, there was so many good characters. That fiction, I think, is one of the best in terms of games. Like, their commitment to their lore, that codex is significantly better than people give it credit for, because they just assume it's like Final Fantasy 13. It's like, no, because Mass Effect doesn't bullshit you with pronouns the whole time.
Oh. They've got specific races, and everything works as it probably would work in science fiction.
Fundamentally speaking, what you learn in that codex doesn't, like, necessarily, like, help you understand the story that much more. Not necessarily, because the story is pretty clear, because BioWare can fucking write. The thing that codex does is it adds to this world. It gives it a history. It gives it, you know, a sense of place. You suddenly know a little few more details. It helps you get invested in this world in a way that the better things in Elder Scrolls has done for a lot of people. The defense for Elder Scrolls has been, the plot's not good, but that lore, this rich history to this world has always driven people to like that stuff, right?
Right. You get, like, just from the story itself, you get that the Quarians and the Geth don't like each other.
Yeah.
Because one made the other and then they rebelled, and now there's, like, this fight for their homeworld. But if you read the Codex, you get how far back that goes and everything that's happened in between those moments. So now you get the full scope of the war. Whereas
you get to learn why, I don't remember some of the races, but they're the They're these big, like, mammothy looking things. They like
the
walk
Alcor.
on all four. Alcor, yeah, that's it.
Alcor.
And the thing is, their planet's got this absurd gravity, and that's why they are on all fours. Because if they tilt over, they're a turtle, they are not getting up ever again. It is going to be that old lady.
They
help!
die.
I've fallen and I can't get up. Type deal.
Forever.
You know what I mean? And that stuff.
They need life alert.
Yeah. Endless Backlog Podcast, sponsored by Life Alert. No, I'm just kidding.
Alcor alert.
Alcor alert. Oh fuck. What are the speaker dude? He's got like a speaker mouth. He's the bank dude, and he's also
the Volus.
The Volus. Yeah,
Volus.
they got cool stuff too. Like their backstory. I don't remember. I think something about their air that they need to.
Their air is really, really toxic.
Yeah. So they all have that weird.
No, so actually. Their air is really clean and thin, and the problem is if they touch air on a different planet or even on the Citadel, it'll rip their skin apart, and that's why they don't need to wear that stuff on their planet. Yeah. But if they go somewhere else, their skin is just really thin.
Yeah. It's kind of why I'm not happy about the fact that we're going to the Andromeda Galaxy, because I'm like, no, I want this galaxy again. I just don't want that story again.
I'm sure we'll still see all these races in this galaxy.
Yeah. I hope so.
And a bunch of new races that'll probably be
it's the same way I feel about The Witcher, right? Like, I don't like the combat, and that's going to be 900% of my argument against it being Game of the Year this year when we have it. But at
least my arguments are going to be multifaceted of why I don't like Metal Gear Solid 5.
I have many multifaceted issues with that combat. Anyway, but I'm saying, like, you know, at the same time, like, give me my credit during these podcasts. I'm not saying the game is bad because I like Geralt of Rivia. I like the way this world is designed. The way this franchise has always handled choices that don't always feel like there was a right answer is one of its strengths. You know what I mean? Like, we keep going back to, like, The Witcher 2, that, Lorvath and Roche, you're picking between a terrorist and Big Brother asshole.
Yep.
And neither of them are scumbags.
Nope.
And like, you're not gonna think they're scumbags. They're doing some fucked up shit, though. You know what I'm saying? Because it's a difficult universe. You know what I'm saying?
It is.
You know, when Game of Thrones works, that's why you like Game of Thrones. These characters are complicated. You know?
Yeah, I mean,
you want them all to win and lose at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And good world building can really make a setting work.
Yep.
I mean, that's what's made the Sunless Sea interesting for me so far. Yeah.
It's what makes, you know, would Bayonetta be as fun if Bayonetta herself wasn't charismatic?
No.
Yeah.
It would just be weird.
Yeah. Then suddenly then she becomes Lollipop Chainsaw character.
Right.
Killer 7, we love that game. Being bad.
That's a more complicated beast.
Yeah, but that's like all style and characters when you think about it. Like, say narrative didn't
yeah.
You know, Vanquish, we think less of it. I mean, it had some personality, but for instance, a better game than Binary Domain. I would argue me and you we tend to come off more positive when we talk about Binary Domain than we do Vanquish. At least I do. There's no argument Vanquish plays better. You know what I mean? Like, was there really anything Binary Domain does better than Vanquish? Not really. You know, Gears of War progressively became less interesting because in the first game I feel like...
I like how the robots fell apart in Binary Domain.
Yeah, that's cool. You know, but like, going back to Gears of War, my point here.
Yeah.
I think the narrative is a lot better than people think it is in Gears of War. The plot is stupid, but those characters are just cheesy and funny enough to be entertaining in that game. And that world still had, like, a sense of dread to it back then. Once they started adding too much to the story, that story went to shit. Gears of War...
First game was pretty good stupid.
Yeah. I think it had a nice balance of being just serious enough and the stupidity carried it through. Right? Whereas the sequels, they got stupid, but not in a way you wanted them to be. Because who the fuck cares about Maria?
Yeah.
You know? And that's a writing failure. Because when you think about it, it's like, a dude had to, like, basically shoot his wife, and we all thought it was a comedy.
It's a really fucked up situation.
And that means you really fucked up Epic Games.
Yeah, poorly handled.
You know, Halo, I think that first story is actually kind of fun. I think by the time Halo 3 comes around, we're all just laughing at how shitty the dialogue is in those games. You know what I'm saying?
Just got good flavor text.
Yeah. Chris thinks Metal Gear Solid 5 is repetitive, and I've outlined plenty of times, it's not repetitive, but it all comes down to, well, the story just fucking vanishes for hours. You know what I mean? So he's not incorrect in saying that the story sells the idea that this is just bitch work for the longest time. Yeah. So,
I just didn't feel a reason for doing the things that I was doing after a while.
Listen, 100% accept that argument.
Right.
I don't agree with repetitive, but I do get where you're coming from. Basically, what I'm saying is, yes, my era of saying laugh out loud video game stories needs to end because it's a lot more complicated than that.
Yeah, I think we're getting to that point
well-written game for you.
Huh?
Called Sunless Sea.
You tried to segue into that earlier.
Twice.
Oh, yeah.
Twice. I wasn't letting you have it.
Oh.
No. I started playing Sunless Sea over the weekend.
What is Sunless Sea?
Sunless Sea is a pseudo roguelike set in.
Roguelike.
I like this kind of game.
Procedural-generated levels.
It's set. It's actually pretty relevant here. That it works that way. It's set in a kind of quasi Victorian England where London has fallen into this underground chasm.
Okay. Where
monsters and strange creatures and madness lies. And there's this big underground ocean called the Untersea. And you start as a captain, and you build your character, and you can choose different origins, and you can choose different objectives for like how you would retire, like what's your goal in life. And you get a ship, and you get a crew, and you take missions in London, and you set out onto the uncharted Untersee, and come across different places, and fight things, and encounter weird stories. And you go out in your ship, and you go back, and you have to manage your supplies, and try and make money, and make progress. And the game starts by saying, your first captain will probably die, but you can learn from that.
Okay.
And gameplay-wise, there's not a ton going on. I mean, you're kind of just like trying to manage resources. But I mean, there are a few things that caused me to enjoy my experience so far. One is that it's really well written. There's a lot of text in this game, describing all the encounters you have and the people you meet and stuff. And it's just good prose. It reminds me a bit in that sense of, I mean, there's definitely some parallels between this and 80 Days, I guess. Mm-hmm. Now, it's very text heavy, but the text brings these encounters to life. Mm-hmm. Makes it an adventure where you're really building a breathing world around you. I took a screenshot early on. When I started, I had like a ferret mascot.
Right.
And
Ferrets,
so
you would.
Yeah. And so I tried to talk to my ferret.
Right.
Interact with my ferret. And it describes the ferret. It lies across your desk like a lumpy scarf.
Right.
It's a great image.
Lumpy scarf, yeah, I like that.
And I chose play with your ferret. A weary roll of the eye. Play, that eye roll says. Play. I played once in the happy warrens of London before you installed me in this floating coffin and made me eat dried food. Damn your play. It is an eloquent eye roll. Again, that's kind of just like setting this like great tone. Like There's a little humor in it. There's some darkness in it.
Yeah. It's a good balance.
It's a good balance. And so
it doesn't come off like he hit thesaurus. It came off like he actually has some writing chops. Like he's very descriptive.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good kind of descriptive. Mm-hmm. It's bringing all across. And that that applies the whole way through. Whether just encountering the basic shops or the admiral in London who gives you money for finding new things, or like all the weird places you wind up going and encountering, or like the things that you can do if you run out of fuel and your ship is adrift in the middle of the sea.
Right.
And you consider like wounding yourself as a sacrifice to the gods. Hope something good happens. And I didn't screen cap a lot of things, but that's been exciting. And I mean, I've had some good adventures emerge so far, just in the early going. I mean, like the most memorable experience I've had so far was early on. You're approached by this kind of seedy guy at the harbor, or I was. I don't know how random everything is because I just started out, and he's like, "Here's some stuff to help you out because we're taking interest in you and we like you." I work for this guy that like takes interest in young captain, so here's some stuff. And then later you go out, you come back to port, and he's like, "You remember me? I helped you out. The guy I work for, he's got something he needs delivered. He needs a favor. And, you seem like a nice guy who who does favors for people, So I said, sure, because that's how I tend to be. And so he gave me this piece of contraband. He wanted delivered to this port. I didn't know where it was. Called like Mount Palmerston or something. And he said, it's to the northeast. And I can't look at a map and see where it is because my world is randomly generated. So I just have to go northeast and explore and see if I can find this place. So I buy a bunch of fuel, I buy a bunch of supplies, which are the main limiting factors when you're exploring. You're constantly running through those two things. And I set out to the northeast to this completely uncharted part of my map from London. And I wound up finding all these different places. I found, like 3 or 4 different smaller ports. I played chess and almost went crazy playing chess with like these weird cursed pieces. I found this like Far Eastern Empire where there are all these warlords dealing with each other. I found this like Frozen North place and I recruited this engineer. But I couldn't find this port and I was running low on supplies. And I'd buy a little more when I found different places, but I only had so much money. And so I was like, I have to get back and maybe get to the admiral who will pay for this new information I found finding all these ports.
Right.
And I sent my course back, but it was too late. So, I was like running the very last of my fuel. I went through my fuel reserves. I had to rummage through supplies to scrape together something I could throw in the engine. So I was almost out of everything. And I finally was able to get to this town, a little further out from where, like, a ways away from where I started, but not too far. But I'm there. I had, like, almost no money. I'm out of fuel.
Right.
But I've got
like
this
FTL in a weird way.
Yeah. But I got this box of souls, this piece of contraband.
Souls?
Yeah. Human souls.
Okay. Souls. Okay. Continue.
Mm-hmm. Not something you're supposed to be, like, moving around without customs okay in it.
I mean, it's not something you should be moving around, period. It's human souls, but continue.
And I'm not at the place I need to be, but I have no money. If I don't get money, I'm not going to be able to leave.
Okay.
So there's a guy who's buying human souls, so I sell him the stuff. What can I do?
That is so scumbag.
It's that or starve, You gotta make hard choices. And so I use that and I get back to London and guess who's waiting for me in the harbor but the guy who gave me the box of souls.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I heard she hadn't sold the souls at Mount Palmerston. And I see you don't have the souls now. That's gonna be a problem.
Right.
And he attacked me, and I barely escaped, but half my crew was killed.
Right.
Because I planned poorly and ran out of fuel.
Because you made a bad decision. That's kind of cool.
Damn it, Ben.
Maybe you shouldn't fucking sell souls, asshole.
What's wrong with you?
Live and learn,
No, live and die, apparently. Ask your crew.
This is your shitty Undertale defense all over again. I needed to know, what killing someone felt like. How could I know I could be a pacifist?
I thought he was my friend. He gave me stuff. I didn't know he was going to give me human souls.
You definitely should not play The Witcher 3, because I can only imagine the decisions you'll make.
You'd be like, no, these are all good people. I trust them.
It's like, no, this guy's trapped in a tree. He's totally cool. He was trapped in a tree.
He wouldn't be lying to me.
Why would he lie?
So I freed the guy in the tree.
Oh, you fucked up.
He was going to save the kids.
No, he wasn't. Why would you do that?
No, he saves the kids. Wait, he doesn't save the kids? Do you find that out in the game?
I don't fucking know. I didn't save that guy.
Well, no, I think that's the plan. I think that's the trade-off. He does actually honor the deal. What, Ben, we're going to have to pause. He does honor your deal, and he saves the kids. The trade-off is, of course, what happens after that.
Yeah, see, I didn't do that. I was like, nah, this is not... I don't trust... Witcher has taught me through the years not to trust anything that's trapped anywhere.
So my idea was, I'm probably going to have to fight this thing. So why not? Why not? It would probably be a cool boss fight. I guess I'm not.
That's your logic.
Yeah. Well, yeah. That's the problem with playing. It's the annoying thing about a game, man. At some point, you can't shut off the part where you know you're playing a game. I do agree that whatever. Sometimes you have a little bit more fun with it, but yeah. Let me put it this way: the narrative reason worked for me because I would want to save the kids. Like that would win me over, right? Mm-hmm. Although. The game could have been really fucked up and told you what his definition of saving the kid was.
Yeah.
That could, but I don't think they don't go that mile for my understanding.
I don't know.
Well, I guess whatever.
I didn't take that chance, man.
I guess I'll find out later. Back to you, Ben.
But yeah,
do you know if the stuff is like legitimately dynamic or just these are planned things that would happen? Are you 100% sure he doesn't fight you?
If I'd sold the thing where I was supposed to sell it, I'm sure he wouldn't have fought me. And if I'd been better at fighting, I might have been able to win. I don't know.
Maybe you would have saved more of your crew.
I could have saved more of my crew, but I didn't build my character that way.
It's like FTL.
I'm a street urchin.
Again.
I'm a scrappy guy. I move in the shadows,
Yeah. Sunless Sea. Better merchant. Sunless Sea guy or Resident Evil?
I mean, he's not really like the merchant. He's just like a scoundrel.
I mean, whatever.
And no one beats the Resident Evil 4 merchant anyway.
Bless you.
He's the greatest character of all time.
The greatest character of all time. Okay, yeah.
Easy there, Tiger.
He might be.
I mean, when you come across his like cave on the lake,
that's true.
Like that's one of the greatest game secrets
in video games.
Okay.
And that was Dark Souls. That was like Demon Souls, like hidden storytelling before there was Demon Souls.
Sure. Okay. Fair enough.
What Demon Souls can learn from Resident Evil 4?
Everything. Exactly. No, Sunless Sea sounds rad.
Yeah. It's a cool game. I mean, like in this, like I kind of want to play more of that, but I also want to go back to Invisible Link at some point.
Yeah. What if we cut Monster Hunter 4 for the cool games you played?
Why would I cut Monster Hunter 4?
Because it doesn't have a lock-on system. That's actually good.
Even Xenoblade Chronicles X has the lock-on system.
We should play Monster Hunter 4 together.
Listen, I'm not saying it's not a good game. I'm saying I don't want to play that much of it because I really don't like the control.
The lock-on system is very important that it works the way it does.
Fine. We can have this conversation when it's going to happen. Okay. I think we played a lot of cool games.
Have we gotten into the lie section of the podcast? You lying right now?
Section of the podcast.
Why the fuck you lying?
I love that vine though. It's so good. The face he makes.
But yeah, Sunless Sea is cool. I want to play more of it.
Yeah.
And see how it holds up. I mean, like, some of like the ship movement is kind of slow, which could be a problem if I'm exploring more. But right now I'm not going very far because I have a very early ship.
Right.
Maybe it'll get faster.
I don't know if it'll get faster.
You have to deal with pirates, trying to siege your ship.
They're pirates. They're pirates, and you can shoot. You can use your cannon to shoot them. The ship-to-ship combat is not fantastic, but it works kind of well enough.
It's not tactical.
It's happening in real time. And it's about kind of keeping the enemy in your sights so that you can fire off your cannons. But you kind of can't avoid taking damage, you know? So it's a bit of like... It's kind of like a gating mechanism, almost like random battles in old RPGs. It's like, it's going to consume some of your resources if you get in fights. And you're going to find some stuff for it, but, you know, it's a danger.
Any level of coordination to that game?
And not too much. As I said, it's like not like super mechanics heavy in like a Twitch sense.
You know what also isn't mechanic heavy in a Twitch sense? It's tactical. And it might actually be the first Ubisoft game that's good since AAA Ubisoft game. That's good since Assassin's Creed 2. Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege.
What?
Is actually a good multiplayer game where I 100% disagree with its Metascore on some
What?
level. So,
Whoa.
let's be clear here. If all the criticisms are levied against its netcode, 100% agree. It's shit. There's no getting around it. It's not consistent. There's a lot of weird drop-offs. The game crashes on me a few times. I have to deal with Uplay. However, somehow, someway, Ubifart made a good video game, and trust me, no one is more surprised than I am. Now, there's actually a great Super Bunny Hop video on this game, because he's probably like one of the first people that's like really gone up to bat for the game and said like, it's actually really good. It's got some principles that you sort of associate with, dare I say, Counter-Strike, and it's being done on a AAA level. So, there isn't really a single-player game. There's like this glorified tutorial thing where you play missions through the multiplayer maps. Kind of like a weird version of Terrorist Hunt, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that works as a campaign for this game because I'll take it over what's the alternative in modern shooters, which is this really super scripted nonsense that you get in Battlefield 3 and 4, for instance, or Modern Warfare or any of that, right? That's a bit of a straw man argument because one might argue that the Rainbow Six Vegas campaigns were a little bit better than that, right?
I like Vegas.
Yeah, like I thought that, it's still very much that linear corridor shooter, but there was a little bit more to it as a single player game because, there were decent squad controls in that game. But the beauty of Siege is they made a 5v5 multiplayer game with classes and this weird game of attack and defend where everyone is on this razor edge. You gotta be very precise. You gotta be patient. You need to lean and peek in a way that you don't do in a lot of shooters. So there's these
console shooter with leaning.
I mean, I don't know how it plays on a gamepad, but yes, lean. Like you need to position. So you would think. So Call of Duty and Halo is about reflexive skill in the sense that you need to outgun someone in a tight space. Unreal is absolutely that. Counter-Strike is absolutely that. Rainbow Six is about positioning more than anything. Like you can mask your own deficiencies on the mouse and keyboard as long as you know how to think tactically and on the fly and position, use your cover accordingly. So the beauty of this is there's a defense team and there's an attack team. Initially, when you start, the attack team sends out like these little RC cars to navigate the area. So you can find where the objectives are in this building, what the classes are you're dealing with, and stuff like that, right? It's a quick little phase. I keep fucking it up. I don't really know what I'm supposed to be doing. My RC car always dies. Thank God my team has actually come through in the clutch on that stuff. So after that, you have these classes. There's like this big heavy guy. He's meant to break down barriers because on defense, there's a guy, like most of the people are boarding up a thing. The problem is you don't have enough boards to cover every space. So there's a bit of a checks and balances here. Sometimes, and then when you're on the attack team, you don't know some of the other stuff. For instance, let's say one of the other guys brings bombs with him. He could actually sabotage one of the doors. That's the scary thing you have to make peace with is that when you're breaking down a barrier, you don't want to know what's on the other side. It could be the enemy. It could be nothing. It could be a bomb, right? It could be a mine. It could be a lot of things. So there's like this There's this weird dynamic going on in that game where everyone's sort of moving their chess pieces across the board, but you're all sort of coordinating in a way that you don't do in modern shooters too often. It's been one of the first times where I've bought a multiplayer shooter that I'm playing by myself that I'm actually speaking with my teammates. Like, I've used push to talk on the damn thing. Like, I've actually spoken to randoms because team play is important in this game. The Ubisoft, in a rare moment of stupidity, yet maybe it works for people who like speaking on a mic, they don't allow you to type enough in the little, what is that called?
Chat box?
Yeah, the chat box. Like, there's just not enough space to say things like, hey, I'm going over here. Like, you just now don't have enough room. Like, you gotta, it's like somehow less characters than Twitter. So, you know, that actually does add to it for me, because in my case, that I get lucky and I end up with team something. So when I was learning the game, like, this one guy was like walking me through the entire process. Like, all right, you're gonna follow this shield guy. Like, don't leave his ass. Stick with him. He's gonna be able to take the front of the shots, but you need to cover him once he leaves you an opening, right? So, yeah, that stuff helps in the early going. But then I started learning, like, there's these destructible environments in the game. Like, sometimes what you're doing is you're shooting holes through a wall, not because you want to hit the enemy, but you're leaving an opening. You're creating at least an opening for yourself, right? Or you're going to create something that he'll try to take advantage of, and you could set him up on a flank. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of cool stuff like that going around. And whatever, after that, it's just like a good game of kill them, kill before they kill us, right? And it gets really tense. Like, you get that moment when it's like, oh shit, it's only 5v4 now. Or it's like, oh shit, it's 3v1 now. We need this one guy to... It's that Gears of War moment, right? Where one guy really got carried the
Gears
team.
War moment.
Except Gears of War, again, comes back down to... It's really... It's hard to do that in Gears of War when you're against a good team, right?
Mm-hmm.
Rainbow Six, it's still difficult, but you believe in your teammate that much more if he's really clever. You know what I'm saying? Because he's got a few more tools and tricks up his sleeve. He can get two at once if he plays his card right. He can use the space to his environment. And the fact that the match is on a timer takes away the idea of camping. You can't camp long enough. You know what I'm saying? You have to actually go out and take care of some of the goals, take care of some of the objectives, defend your place, or, you know, take out the enemy. So,
like Counter-Strike.
Yeah.
I like the idea of a game where, sure, I'm sure there's obviously a little bit of Twitch skill involved and aiming and coordination, but I like the idea of a game that, say it's 3-on-1, in almost every shooter, that guy's screwed. Yeah. That one person is screwed, because even if you can take down two guys, you still have to worry about the third one. Yeah. Whereas in a game like this, I like the idea that it could come down to a game of wits.
Yeah.
That's a cool
I think
concept.
the maps are really well designed. I think Ubisoft's already committed to the idea that the map packs are free. Right? There's microtransactions in the game
because of course.
But from my understanding, it's all cosmetic.
Which is fine.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, like, if the classes are free and the maps are free, then I'm not seeing the problem here, and I'm not getting how this multiplayer game actually... Hold on. Did it actually do that bad score-wise?
It's only like 70-something.
78? That's not even that bad.
It's not bad, but it's pretty
on
low.
PC. The PS4 version probably has more reviews. No, not that many more reviews. It's only 3 more reviews, and it's a 73. And then a 74 on the Xbox One. I mean, whatever. That's not high, but at the same time, if we're under the agreement that a 7 out of 10 is good, then I'm going, yeah, no, it's a good game. Like, that's... Yeah, okay, I agree with that number.
The only thing that was
multiplayer-only shooter with a small player count has a pretty high road to climb.
The reason I held back, because I really like the concept, I liked all the videos I saw, the reason I held back is just because it seems like a mode from a bigger game. So, and it's a cool mode.
So what got me over the hump was that it was like $30 on Green Man Gaming, and I was like, well, fuck it, I'll take it at that price.
$30 sounds a lot more appealing for that.
Yeah. I think Gerstmann makes the same argument. Like $60 seems like a high price. So that's fine. If we're arguing the product review side of things, whatever. There's an argument to be had that $60 is a bit enticing. But I am saying that the game that is there is actually pretty fucking cool. It's tactical. It's like this weird in-between between what Rainbow Six Vegas is versus what Rainbow Six used to be. Ooh. We're not going all the way back to that where Rainbow Six's movement speed is slow and slower and slow with a vengeance, or, you know, one shot to the arm fucking kills. Although some of the things Rainbow Six Siege counts as headshots are like, get the fuck out. Which, again, I think at least still adds to the game, because it's like, no, now you know that it reminds me of things I like about the shooting engine of old school Rainbow Six. It doesn't have the planning phase now. Well, it has a planning phase. It's different. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
It's more on the fly planning. I still prefer that weird door kicker / classic Rainbow Six thing of, I'm going to make my team go this and do this stuff in this room while I'm doing this. And, you know, I might lose guys if I don't plan this accordingly. There's just something really compelling about that. You know what I'm saying? That's not there, but it is back to this very classic, you don't have a radar. You don't have fucking listen mode and wall hacks and perks. Like, no, you need to coordinate with your team and you need to take some guys out. You know what I'm saying? And it is, you're on a razor's edge the entire game. And when it's good, it is some of the most tense shooting I've played in a while. And it sort of got me out of practice in Halo, but whatever. I
sort of got you out of practice.
I was really bad in Halo 5 the other day. It was
terrible.
I haven't been this bad at Halo in...
Since the first time you played it.
Yeah, I haven't been that bad in Halo. It might have been worse than the first time I played Halo 5. Because I was pretty bad when I was struggling with Halo 5.
I said Halo 5 has my favorite game mechanics of any Halo game, like the core gameplay, yet they have saddled me with the shittiest teammates I'm guaranteed a teammate who goes 1-12 every game, and Gagan was that person when I played.
Yeah, it was really bad being that guy for you. I was like, God damn it, there used to be a time when I brought Chris to the finish line.
Oh, he was dragging me down hard.
Yeah. Oh, just relax there, buddy. You weren't doing good.
No, because you're getting me killed. Your terribleness was rubbing off on me.
Yes, okay, fine. I'm willing to agree. It was really bad. I did clean up. I sort of forced myself to get better at Halo again. I was like, okay, no, I need to play a little bit more of this. Because they added a dead zone thing. And I dropped my dead zones down to 0.
Oh, yeah.
Because I had to. And I felt like that did help. Because there was a period where I was like, this brand of aiming was working perfectly fine for me earlier. Now, all of a sudden, I feel like I'm being outgunned in weird ways. Like, they can make movements I suddenly can't make. Which, whatever, I guess that's, again, the dead zones. People could do certain things. And that helps, but, you know. If I was arguing between those two games, I might actually argue for Rainbow Six. I really think Rainbow Six is a lot better of a game than people are giving it credit. Not necessarily a lot better game than Halo. I'm saying, like, it's a really good multiplayer game, and it's refreshing because nothing else in the AAA space is like this. The AAA space has gotten dumber in comparison. You know, for lack of a better term. You know, Halo sort of, like, maintained its quote-unquote roots, but Halo was always sort of more arcade. It had power weapons, for instance. You know what I'm saying? Like, very easy power weapons. Not in the way the Unreal where, like, they were difficult to use. Like, the rocket launcher is one of the easiest guns in life to use. A sword is pathetically simple. The sniper has the most aggressive aim assist you can get in an FPS. But Bungie's still doing that stuff. Destiny is, like, ludicrously easy. Like, Chris, the Crucible had to be one of the easiest multiplayer modes we've ever played.
Crucible?
The Crucible in Destiny.
In Destiny,
a joke.
yeah.
You know, like, we never took it seriously. We were just piling on kills.
It's because people were terrible at that. Whereas I feel like the player base for Halo is actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Just not on my team, but like the enemy
team.
Here's
the problem with Halo recently. I've started noticing like people travel in packs way more than they were when that game was out. And I'm starting to argue that now that the community... It happens with every multiplayer game. Once the community sort of starts losing numbers, the only people left are the people playing it with a crew. And if you're not playing it with a crew... And Halo's always been bad about this. Well, not bad, but like Halo, because of its history, more or less, like, to me, Halo has always been the get your crew, kick some ass game. I've never been a play Halo with randoms guys until Halo 5. Mm-hmm. And now I'm discovering why I never played Halo with randoms. You know what I'm saying?
I feel like it was even more lenient in Halo 2 and 3, though. You could get away with that. Halo 2 or 3, you're right, by the end. But I guess it was just because
I think Halo 2 was just
the only
game.
Right,
yes.
It was the only game available. Because that game, till the very end, you could run
And
randoms.
here's the thing. The ranking system in Halo wasn't shit.
Yeah, true.
So you knew at, like, Halo 3, for instance, Team Slayer, you can make it to level 40 without a crew. Level 40, you better have a crew.
Yeah, I did. Yeah,
everyone else is going to be coming in with a team they know that knows how to play this game, knows the maps inside out, and they're going to do stupid MLG bullshit where they're already predicting your spawn point.
Yeah. With Halo, the problem with Halo 5 currently is that there's literally only one, because I ranked Diamond 5 for Slayer.
Allegedly that was fixed, and I ranked Gold 4, and I could not have played worse. I mean, I guess I could have played worse. I could have gone 0-4, but I was terrible. At no point, the best match I had during that 10-match stretch was 13-10.
My first 5 games were really good, and I played with you, and I did terrible. But I got Diamond 5, and I'm Platinum 5 in Arena. But the problem is they're all ranked, so I'm always going up against these killers, and the only social Slayer is Big Team Battle.
Or Warzone.
And the problem with Warzone is people still can't get it around their heads that the legendary spawns are more important than bases.
Yeah, Warzone taking those L's is... Warzone's become my dick around mode if I want to play it. Like, I just don't take it seriously at this point.
Because people are stupid.
Yeah, you can't get too invested. And the other thing is, I think the card system has created exactly what Gersman and Brad Shoemaker describe at Giant Bomb, which is that when the match is out of hand, you're not going to use your cards, and then it gets really easy to be overwhelmed by the other team when your whole team isn't using their cards.
Yeah, because they all know it's going to be a loss, so everyone just starts spawning tanks.
When you know it's a win, you're just like, fuck it, might as well just start running up the score. And that stuff's fun as hell, because then you're just wrecking the team. But, you know.
Well, because Warzone games are either crushing losses or overwhelming victories. Yeah, it's so rarely neck and neck.
Yeah. Well, I think I've had one good match of Warzone this entire time, and that was that one match you and Blab had where we got pinned inside our base, and then we fought. That was one of the coolest things about that entire game. That
was really cool.
And now it's gotten to a point where you're never going to create that moment. So
doesn't happen often.
No, and honestly, it makes me. There's a lot of YouTube cats I watch, and one of them's like a big multiplayer guy. He says that in this, or whatever, some of it is way too revisionist history for my liking, because he's like, back in the day, there was like the sense of honor. I'm like, get the fuck out. Like, we all cheated back. Like, Halo 2 had glitches out the ass, so did SoCon. Counter-Strike had the op. No. So this honor system, you need to, like, no, get the fuck out. But he's more or less going that, like, modern multiplayer shooters, the biggest thing that ruins them for a lot of people tends to be the community finds a scumbag tactic, and that scumbag tactic becomes a thing. Armor Lock ruined Halo Reach for a lot. Like, whatever. We still played a lot of it, but it's a stench Halo Reach never overcame for us.
Fuck Halo.
For as much as we played it, it was the but for that game. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Same way with Halo 4. We fucked the bolt shot. Was it the bolt shot? The
bolt
shot
we
can
remember.
Bolt shot and I want to say Promethean Vision bothered a lot of people, but whatever. The point is, bolt shot really just pissed me the fuck off. Sawed off ruined Gears of War 3 for a lot of people. It ruined shotgun dances for people. You know what I mean? And that's whatever. It's a design thing we all have to deal with. You can't really say, quote unquote, it's broken because we all have access to it. But at the same time, you just didn't want to play it that way.
It bottlenecks the experience to everyone has. If you're not doing that, then you're losing.
Yeah, like we're all willing to buy this game is about battle rifles. Like technically we all do get bottlenecked into certain things with multiplayer. Gears of War is a natural game. But at the same time, at least you buy the idea that, like, you know what? At least you have to get good at something with those things. Even if it's like not necessarily the most like difficult thing in the world. The armor lock part and the sawed off was it took skill completely out of the equation. Like it was too stupid of an idea. It's why people don't like what's that pistol in Titanfall? The smart pistol.
Smart pistol?
Yeah, smart pistol. It completely takes any concept of aiming out of the equation. With the way you move in that game, it's actually pretty easy to just, like, dodge enough bullets to wait until your lock-on works. You know what I'm saying? Whereas, like, at least with the rest of the guns, you have to shoot. You know? Sniping in Titanfall is one of the harder things in that game. Everyone moves too quickly.
Right.
So, you know. I feel like that has happened. Fighting games is the same way. Like, how many people didn't want to play Street Fighter 4 because it just became Ken? You know? And Ben, you might argue...
Ken's not even broken.
Well, I don't... Yeah. Hey, I'm not saying... But you get tired of seeing the same character over and over.
That's true.
Listen, let's agree that technically fighting games, in the case of Street Fighter, you do bring up a great point when you say, well, players also didn't adapt to the flowchart. And that's on the player.
Well, I mean, what happened with me for Street Fighter is, like, I developed kind of flowcharts that worked for a while, and then I got to a certain point in the matching where it's like I got to people who knew how to block, and it's like, okay, now I need to find a way to adapt to this, or I'm going to keep losing.
Whatever. Fighting games, I guess, are a bad example of this, but, like, multiplayer shooters, it has come down to... There's been a lot where I just stopped playing because the community starts doing a thing or two, and it's just like, fuck you, I want to do this. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, certainly people try, even in fighting games.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Everyone, you know, if there is a win strategy, we all do it. StarCraft had, Sword Rush.
Or it's like that's the perception people had of, like, Little Mac in, Smash Wii U.
But he's so easy to wreck.
Well, people eventually realize he's actually not broken, but, like, the first, like, few weeks...
Oh, yeah. Well, Meta Knight...
Everyone was convinced, yeah. Or, I mean, Meta Knight and Brawl.
Meta Knight was broken, but, you know.
Meta Knight was broken in Brawl.
Yeah, but
some people are going to try to use them whether or not they know what they're doing, just because they think, like, oh, this has to be the strategy.
Anyway, I was just bringing this up because, like, the one that's being used against Halo 5 is that people are running in packs of teams, and I'm going, fuck you, I can at least... I'll take that L. That, at least, is fine. Like, no, people should be playing a team game and working as a team. Yeah. The issue is, if anything, 343 needs to create a playlist where no parties allowed. You know what I'm saying?
Where you feel...
Last of Us has that. Call of Duty has that. Like, modern multiplayers have created playlists where you can either play with a party or you don't play with a party. To sort of balance that thing out for a lot of people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get it.
So, that's on 343. I don't think it's a... Like, the community's not shitty for playing together as a team. If anything, that I at least can respect. It's like, okay, you're playing the game the way it's supposed to be played. Play with your team.
That hasn't been an issue in Rainbow Six, though.
Well, no. Rainbow Six, I absolutely want people to play as a team. So, like, there's nothing I don't like about Rainbow Six right now. Other than the netcode.
Great. Other than netcode. Okay.
Yeah. So, that is... So, I can't automatically say, like, you should go buy it, because it does get frustrating. But when it works, oh my god, it plays so well. I haven't enjoyed an Ubisoft game like this in a while. Because I don't care for Far Cry 3. And whatever. I guess whatever. I keep forgetting the Rayman games, but are those AAA? You get what I'm saying?
You hipster.
No. I mean, like, are they? I would imagine they're not expensive projects.
Oh, there's a lot of detail in those levels, and there was a lot.
Rayman Origins is a great game.
Rayman Origins is a very good game. It was just, so is Rayman Legends. Valiant Hearts. I really like that game.
Child of Light was fun.
Child of Light's a fun game. It's got cute little rhymes. Grow Home is kind of cute, but I don't know. But like one of the big marketed Ubisoft things, I'm like, God, fuck Assassin's Creed Black Flag. Like, fuck Assassin's Creed right now.
Whoa.
Speaking of which, there's an Assassin's Creed Chronicles India out right now. And I feel obligated to my motherland at least to play it.
What?
But I don't want to play Assassin's Creed Chronicles China or Russia.
I don't know if it's worth it, man.
Yeah, I don't know. It got an okay review.
Did it? Did it really, though?
Yeah, but it's a 2D game. So
what are you talking about? Okay, bro, 66 on Metacritic?
That's
not
what I got,
worth
66?
Not worth your time.
Hey, I guess I could sell it.
That's well below my standard.
Yeah, 66 on Metacritic. 12 mixed reviews. Hold on. What's the lowest? What's the lowest? A 50 from Push Square. I mean, some of these websites I don't even acknowledge.
Bro, a recommended game is Tony Hawk Pro Skater 5. You know a game is shit when...
What? No, it is not.
In the bottom of my feed, yeah, it says recommended Tony Hawk Pro Skater 5 underneath Assassin's Creed Chronicles India. That's what they're telling me. It's clearly
The Legend
garbage.
of Dark 2, yeah.
Clearly garbage, so here's more of it.
Okay, yeah. Tony Hawk Pro Skater 5 has a 32 on Metacritic, though, so come on. Did you know Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 and 3 have a 98 and 97 as God intended?
As God intended.
Beautiful games.
Those are fantastic games. Yeah. No,
have you been playing anything, Chris?
No, still Xenoblade. That game is long, and unfortunately I have to grind for where I am right now because the game had a random-ass difficulty spike out of fucking nowhere.
I know what we're gonna cut!
Ugh. I hate grinding with a passion.
Yeah, no.
It grinds everything to a halt.
You know
That's
what
RPG?
You know what RPG this year you don't grind in?
Witcher. Yeah. Because the problem with Xenoblade Chronicles is if you do all the quests and the fucking quests posted on the message board, is they take a long time and then you get no experience for them. It's easier to just literally go out into the wild and kill something for a long time.
The Witcher 3 is the opposite of that. If you do the
get
quest,
no experience for killing things, and then you do the quest and you get a bunch of experience.
Yeah.
Which is the way it should fucking be.
Yeah, it takes the grinding out of the equation and says, no, go do these missions and you'll level up and be better.
Oh, I hate grinding so much. It honestly kills me inside.
Games. But you like Persona.
I never felt like I grinded that much in Persona.
Persona 3?
No.
Persona 3 I thought was really bad about it.
Because you have to get up to the next set of floors anyways.
Yeah, sure. I think Persona 4 was better about it.
Persona 4 was better about it. But I just feel like as long as you're giving me a goal, I guess the goal in this grinding is once I'm high enough level, I can kill this thing that I need to kill. Yeah. But I'm still not feeling the progress until that moment. It's not an incremental progress. It's a block progress. And block progress...
Fair warning. That game ends on a cliffhanger.
At this point, I give a fuck about the story. It is actually now picking up, so it probably will piss me off when I get to it. That I'm just like, okay, interesting, and
oh.
But yeah. I don't know. Every time I really like that game, I have to grind or I have to go do fucking probes, shoot myself in the face. So it comes down.
That's it, though. So, back to the lying part of our podcast. In theory, this Sunday we'll do our Game of the Year podcast. We should. I told Chris to not schedule a date.
I didn't for Sunday.
Ben should be free this Sunday.
I should be, yes. I've made clear that I have a commitment.
Okay, and I am committed to doing our stuff this Sunday and
to discussing the greatest games of 2015.
Yes, the greatest games, the Rocket Leagues, the Metal Gears, the Witcher 3. Actually, I had the Google Doc up at one point. I did want to give you a rundown of some of the games we'll be talking about.
First the Hotline Miami 2s.
Yeah, honorable mention. I wanted to make. This is the games where we all fucked up and none of us played any of it. Affordable Space Adventures is supposed to be one of the cooler downloadable indie Wii U games that uses that pad. Good job our team of not playing it. Axiom Verge, I really like Metroid and somehow didn't play a game that's literally fucking aping Metroid. Book of Unwritten Tales 2. My buddy Tom Towers.
Supposed to be a fantastic adventure game?
Although my buddy Towers, who loves point-and-click adventure games, Tom Towers, who you can check out at GameUnder.net podcast, who loves the first Book of Unwritten Tales, doesn't like the sequel, says it's kind of shit.
But we don't know.
The Escapists, it's basically like a weird little strategy game where you're trying to escape prison, which is kind of fucking rad. So you're basically playing The Great Escape, the video game, which, The Great Escape is a fantastic movie, so fuck off. Galaxy, which looks rad as shit. Gravity Ghost, because I don't remember why I have it, but I know I got an extra free copy and I gave it to Ben.
Right.
Hand of
I haven't
Fate.
played it either.
Hand of Fate is an action RPG where you use cards to buff your character. Kind of a really cool concept. Makes me think of Yu-Gi-Oh! Also makes me worry it might be like Phantasy Star Online Episode 3, which sucks. So, that was one.
Reminds you a bit of Phantom Dust.
Kerbal Space Program, fucking cool. Game that we did not play. That Ben said Gagan would not like, but whatever. Shadowrun Hong Kong. The first Shadowrun Returns game is kind of rad, and Shadowrun Hong Kong is probably a better CRPG than Pillars of Eternity. But none of us played it.
Who knows? Yeah.
Stealthing 2, supposed to be good.
Stealth
Didn't
game.
play it.
Volume was this year also.
The Volume, yeah, shit. Tales
Didn't
from
play
the
that.
Borderlands is supposed to be one of Telltale's better versions, and none of us played it because fuck Borderlands.
I've heard it compared positively to Life is Strange, which
Yeah.
would be impressive.
The Beginner's Guide, we liked Stanley Parable, but we didn't play it.
The Beginner's Guide.
And Westerado Double Barrel is supposed to be cool. Otherwise, the game plan is to have a top 10 list. We've already locked in 4 games because the idea
We're pretty
being that
confident that these games will stay.
No way. We're not cutting Metal Gear 5. I'm just saying that right now. I will fucking fight a bitch if we try to cut Rocket League. The Witcher
Christopher
3,
will cut a bitch
The
if we try to
Witcher
cut Witcher
3
3.
is not getting cut. And I just don't see why we would cut Bloodborne.
No.
Could it happen?
No?
I don't think... Like, I get where... I could see where someone's trying to go, it's another one of those, but no! Like, I'm with Chris on the really, like, emphatic no he just had. But it's like, no, it plays too well. Like, of the things we like about video games, it plays beautifully mechanically. It added a level... Like, the fiction they added to that world goes hand in hand with the mechanics and the style of games there. Like, this is probably
It would
the
be
best...
surprising.
Yeah, like... We're not cutting Bloodborne.
We would have fucked up something massive if Bloodborne gets...
This year must have been really good if Bloodborne's getting cut. And I don't
there
think
are
it's that
not
good.
10 games that play better than Bloodborne this year.
He just
There's
did the
no
crash
way.
10 games to play better than Destiny?
10 games that... No, it was the Brothers thing. It was like, there
The
will
Brothers?
not be 10 games this year better than Brothers. But I agree with Chris. There were not 10 games better than Bloodborne.
It's probably true. I don't want to get too much into discussing all the things we're going to discuss, because we should leave some surprise for when it happens.
I'm just saying, like, I'm giving people some assumption, like, relax, we're not going to cut these. I mean, personally speaking, Bloodborne is at least a top 5 game from what I played this year.
Okay.
I would argue 4th out of the stuff I've played, maybe 5th. I like Helldivers a lot, but we're not cutting Bloodborne.
Whoa.
Like, get the fuck out. I really like Helldivers, yes. Which you wouldn't play with me, but you're a scumbag. Anyway, otherwise, I did move certain games over to the contentious part. This is not to say they're locked. It's that they are going to be contentious because someone will really fucking defend it. They're also contentious because I would argue there's people in our group that would say, yeah, get that fucking thing off the board.
How about leave the contentious stuff as a surprise?
Yeah, contentious stuff can be a surprise. The rest of the list, whatever.
Between locks and contentious, there's already 11 games there.
Yeah. Now, here's the thing, though.
There's going to be at least one or two. There's going to be... Obviously, there's going to be at least one.
I think, looking at the big list, I think there's at least 5 games there that someone will want to argue over some of the contentious stuff. So there's actually
definitely not all those are going to stay.
There's something more. There are other games in that group that are contentious. We just don't know how.
We don't know yet.
Yeah, because it's a matter of the other thing is like the other thing that we're going to do is like I don't necessarily know if it needs to be top 10, but depending on what we cut, I might actually defend this game when it comes down to the nitty gritty, right? Because that's what happened with Revengeance. It wasn't so much that we thought it was top 10 at the... It just got to a point where, okay, we're down to GTA 5 Journey and Revengeance, and I'm like, well, I think Revengeance is better than the other two.
That's how it got out of control from there.
That's how it got out of control from there. We should have cut it earlier. It's one of those things. Certain games aren't going to last, like Arkham Knight.
Certain games aren't going to last. Certain people are going to pick battles they shouldn't pick, and not pick battles they should pick.
Oh my god!
And at the end of the day,
wouldn't admit that there were easier fucking picks, and I'm like, look at the fucking list I've just given to you that shows you everyone's top 10 to give you an idea of who's really invested in this game, and look at everyone's like 10th pick and realize, yeah, that's probably the easiest cut on the board. He's like, What? What's wrong with cutting? I forgot what he tried to cut at one point.
We'll see.
Whatever.
It'll be fun.
It'll be fun.
So tune in.
One's got to go. We'll close out.
One's got to go.
Assassin's Creed, Splinter Cell, or Rayman.
Assassin's Creed.
Assassin's Creed, yeah.
Do you even play Rayman games, Chris?
Yeah, no, I've played Origins and Legends. I haven't beat either of them, but... And I
I enjoy
the
Rayman
old
Origins
I played the
more
old ones.
than any Assassin's Creed game I've played. And Splinter Cell made really important contributions to the stealth genre. I don't think Metal Gear gets where it is without Splinter Cell.
Correct.
Um,
The Last of Us doesn't work the way it does without Splinter Cell.
Does Assassin's Creed even get where it is without Splinter Cell?
No.
and
What if
Assassin's Creed's game design...
Wait, time out. Since we're all three on Assassin's Creed, come on. Replace Assassin's Creed with Prince of Persia. How's that conversation?
Oh, fuck. Okay, now it's hard.
Why'd you do this?
Now it's hard.
Okay, so let's go with that one. Prince of Persia, Splinter Cell, or Rayman.
Now I'll go to Rayman.
Rayman.
Because Prince of Persia Sands of Time is one of the all-time greats.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay.
I really
love
like
Sands of Time.
I also think Warrior Within and Two Thrones are a lot better than people give them credit for.
I like Warrior Within.
Yeah.
I know
And then
people
you
get
have
down
the
on
original Prince of Persia, and that's a pretty neat game.
Yeah.
I've not played that.
That Prince of Persia like reimagining they did, the classic for XBLA.
Right, I remember that.
That was a really good game.
Hard.
But yeah, like agreed with Chris. Sands of Time is a fantastic game. Good story. I love Farah. She was a fantastic character. I think that's like one of the better romantic relationships in the video game. Right?
Very chill.
Yeah, it was a good one.
Great ending,
Whatever.
actually.
It would have been nice if they didn't rock the fucking Scorpion King theme song for the second game, but at the same time...
That was like the
That's
only
not the first
thing
game's fault.
That's the first game's fault. But like at the same time, I still go back to it. It's like Warrior Within is a lot better of a game than people... Like, yes, okay, whatever. They went a little too dark.
I think the tone just bothered people more than the actual game itself.
Yeah, the game was terrific, though.
I think everyone agreed the game was good.
Yeah.
Like, as in terms of, like,
But
mechanics.
I also think the third game, for whatever reason, doesn't get the love it deserves. I think the third game
Now,
is
if I played the
pretty
third
fucking
game.
right. Oh, how do you not play that? That trilogy is so good!
I only played the first two.
Oh, I love those games. I'm so disappointed that Prince of Persia died the miserable death that it did. Splinter Cell I love.
Shouldn't sell endings as DLC.
Yeah, fuck you. Then you're right. They shouldn't sell a bad ending as DLC when the original ending was 100% earned and fantastic for Prince of Persia 2.
It was pretty good. Like, honestly, I respect that ending more than them selling a DLC ending. So,
yeah, but
like, that wasn't my issue.
You retroactively like the ending now. It's not the same. I know. I remember that you think that ending sucks.
it was annoying.
No, fuck out of here. The ending's so good. They put the onus on the player that he will decide to save her and not fucking kill off the bad guy.
Huh?
You can walk out of that thing and not save her.
You can't walk out of that thing. I tried.
Okay, so that's a really shitty design decision there.
I got out and I was like, okay, where's the end? This is where I came in? No. Oh,
you could shut the console off.
I could have shut the console off. Yes, there we go.
After that.
I should have just stopped playing. Thanks, Spec Ops.
I don't feel good about cutting Rayman, though. Those Rayman games are really good.
They're really,
I
really
don't
good.
feel good about it. But
it's not the point of the game is to feel good about
At the
yourself.
same time, it's like the higher end outings from Splinter Cell and Prince of Persia are more impressive.
And I feel like they're more impact. Ooh, wait a minute.
What did Rayman impact?
Rayman isn't that impactful, honestly, but Rayman 2 is a really hot game. I forgot how good that game is.
I mean, is it though?
Yes.
Rayman 2 is a PS2 game?
PS2, Dreamcast, Nintendo 64.
Okay.
Nintendo 64.
So it's from the same generation that would see Super Mario 64.
Yeah, this doesn't mean it's like
and
Banjo
Ape
Kazooie.
Escape.
Doesn't
I'm not-
undermine its being great.
Since when did we care about Ape Escape?
I wish you could see the face I just made. Ape Escape is fantastic. Are you?
I mean, it was cool
Ape
when it
Escape
showed up
is
in
a
Metal Gear
better-
Solid 3, but
Ape Escape is a better game than Rayman 2. You are on drugs.
You are
if
crazy.
you think otherwise. Are you kidding? Ape Escape is one of like the
Ape
most.
Escape is a right analog stick gimmick.
That is reductionist at best when describing that game. That's like saying Rayman.
It's like, we need a game to sell the DualShock.
So? Like, it was a Rayman. I mean, wait, time out. Ape Escape is one of the freshest concepts for a platformer. Are you high? It's right analog stick the video game. That's like calling Rayman Bubsy.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I agree. Saying Rayman 2 is better than Ape Escape is crazy.
Rayman 2 is so imaginative and good. So
Yeah,
good
and
levels.
Ape Escape is like just fresher and more creative as a whole.
But it's called Ape Escape. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
it's clearly crazy.
Yeah.
I want to play Rayman
Like, if
2.
this was One's Gotta Go, Prince of Persia, Splinter Cell, Ape Escape, we'd be here for hours trying to figure out which masterpiece.
Nobody
would we
fucking
try.
played Ape Escape. Get
Are
outta
you
here.
too high? Never
No
played
one
Ape
cares
Escape.
about Ape Escape.
Ape Escape is so fucking good. This is the
Just
worst
because
part.
it rhymes, I think it's good.
I mean, it's cool
There's
you can
nothing
put his
about a
monkey
rhyme.
mask on Snake
No, I mean,
in Metal Gear Solid 3, but like, that's not that important.
Ape Escape is a fantastic game, regardless of it being in Metal Gear Solid 3. Are you?
Yo,
You
you're
two are on
regardless. Right?
drugs.
You're regardless, right?
Remember when you said you were going to make good arguments for the games you cared about?
Being on drugs.
Is a good argument because Ape Escape plays fantastic. What is bad about Ape Escape's
Pretty
gameplay?
sure you made this game up. It's not even real.
You're
What?
arguing from
Okay, Chris
incredulity.
doesn't remember that Ape Escape is a.
No, I know it's a
So,
real game.
let's-
It sounds like a made-up game, though.
Good thing you don't have to come to an unanimous agreement on this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm with you guys on cutting Rayman, and I felt bad about it until now. Fuck Rayman.
Ape Escape, what a joke. It's one of those cereal box games, right, Gagan?
Are you guys high?
It's like Freddy Fish.
It's mechanically tight. It's like whatever. You don't want to like hearing the argument. Oh, it's a gimmick for the dual. Like it legitimized the DualShock. Like how many bad 3D games did we have to tolerate on the PS1 that had fucking D-pad controls in 3D? And then Ape Escape came out and it controlled like a fucking. Do you know what it was like to go from those stupid tank control games on the PS1 and then all of a sudden play Ape Escape?
And they're like, oh, there's a right analog stick. Let's use that for camera.
Yes.
And that was it.
Yes.
Pretty sure
What?
you're making this all up.
What would platformers be like without Ape Escape? You laugh, but it's true. Like, what would Klonoa play like if it wasn't for how Ape Escape's controls work?
I don't think there's a
Klonoa or is it
relationship.
Klono?
Oh, man.
How do you say that?
Isn't it Clona?
Clona, yeah.
Klonoa?
I don't know where that second O came from.
It's Klonoa. N-O-A-A. Ugh.
Second O is
Klonoa.
the 0 that Ape Escape got. 0 out of 10.
When the fuck did Ape Escape get a 0 out of 10? No. Now I need to know this. No. Ape Escape.
0.
Ape Escape 1, 1999, 90 on Metacritic. You savages. No, hold on.
Yeah,
Rayman 2
It's the same.
is
90.
the Great Escape. They even knew what game they were ripping off. Case closed.
Rayman 2, the Ape Escape.
Hold on. What was Rayman 1? Rayman 2 is when they got to fix things.
Ape Escape's just an escape. Rayman 2 is the Great Escape. I think that's it right there.
That speaks wonders.
It's settled.
This is so ridiculous.
It's
I'm just
done.
mad that the two of you have been downplaying like whatever. If you like Rayman 2, that's fine. But Chris's insistence that Ape Escape isn't some terrific game because he didn't play it. I was like, fuck
I didn't
you.
play Ape Escape either.
So you out-Josephed me this entire time. Fuck you guys.
It's funnier the angrier you got.
Please subscribe to us on iTunes and Stitcher and YouTube. Chris and Ben will not be at the Game of the Year podcast. And if you have never played the game Ape Escape, you should correct this misfortune in your life and play one of the cooler platformers of Gen 5.
That Gagan just made up.
It's got a 90 on Metacritic!
Save the best for last and then play Rayman 2.
Oh, shit.
We all cut Rayman in a One's Gotta Go, even when Assassin's Creed was involved. Please enjoy your night.
That's not true.
It's true now. I'm gonna edit that shit in.
You motherfucker.